Hey guys, Boomer here for Caravel Gaming, and we are now looking at part 3 of our set review for Armies of Myth, and we are moving into the Sapphire cards. I'm here with
Yay!
Lee.
Yay, Sapphire. Hi, guys.
Lee is happy that Sapphire happens, but before we do get into the cards, I feel like we've got to tell a little bit of a story. So, once upon a time, there was a young man called Lee, and he saw a card from set 3 and instantly fell in love. They would look into each other's eyes and determine all the things that they could do, like protect his Reese, protect all his creatures, and make his opponent's rage quit due to bouncing Buccaneers. But then, Hex Entertainment ruined everything, and Time's Offering was gone. So, with that ends the story of Time Offering for set 3. And Lee is sad at this notion, as you can probably imagine.
Very sad.
I'm more sad at the fact that we basically made an entire video gushing about the whole thing, and then they got rid of the card.
It's funny because it's actually the banner art on Reddit
Yeah,
as well.
it is the banner art on Reddit as well. I mean, they've changed that now for very good reasons, but I mean, I don't really know how I feel about that. I feel like the worst thing you can do is promise you're going to do something and then not do it. And the fact that Time's Offering was one of the heaviest hype spoilered cards, and then for it to be pulled from the game is really, I'm not a big fan of that at all.
I think it was a coding issue and it was going to be too hard to make work before it happened.
It's possible. It's possible that's the case. Having said that, though, they had the guy who blinked in the last set as well, and then got rid of him as well. So
Well, they made him a one-shot human only.
yeah,
Maybe they just went, oh crap, they saw our video and went, oh crap, this is going to be bad.
I doubt it came off our video, but they probably saw. They probably felt like it would have been too powerful. There are certain decks out there which would just abuse it to a ridiculous level. So I think that maybe it would have been something that they considered to be.
It
A
probably
bit
would have been too
overpowered.
good.
Yeah. Which is sad. I mean, I think that it'd be one of those things where it would be extremely casual, unfriendly. I think that's one of the things that it could have been, because people would just get way too much value from it, and I think that it'd be awkward on that front. So you're just gonna have to deal with Mist Lord.
It'll be fine.
Anyway, let's get on to the cards before Lee starts crying again. The first one we're going to look at is Arachnomancer. It's a 5 mana 3/3 Venom, and when a spider enters play under your control, you may draw a card. And
Doesn't it actually say crash target game at the minute?
it does currently say crash target game because if you have two things that don't target trigger at the same time, it currently crashes the test server.
They'll fix that though. No, the cards are the more combo-licious side of spiders, I feel.
I think that's right, but I have a slight issue with it. The first thing that came into my mind when I saw it is like, yay, we can do a one-hit kill deck. For those of you who don't know how that works, you can. It's not a guaranteed one-hit kill, but you can use the card from set 1, which is when you draw a card, mill your opponent for 2. And assuming you've done enough setup, you can cast this and Chronic Madness, and as long as you hit like a couple of spiders in your opponent's deck, you can potentially mill them all the way out. But as I sort of said at this point, it really requires way too much setup, I think, on that front. And how many spiders do you need in your opponent's deck for this to be good? I think for me it has to be a lot, because many of the spiders in the game are actually Venom. Many of the cards that we think are spiders are actually Venom. So really cool theme card, but I don't think it's going to see too much constructive play. Really, for a 5 mana 3/3 to see any sort of constructive play, it needs to be back-breakingly awesome, or like the heart of a combo deck that goes off the turn it comes into play.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of limited either.
So, I was thinking, Dave, if you go to Magic the Gathering, I was thinking things like Battlefield Scrounger, where it ends the game the turn it comes into play because you just take infinite turns, or the obvious one would probably be Morphling.
Yep.
Or Majita the Lion as well, but Majita the Lion was good because it was Wrath of God or Extinction on a stick. So, that's why that card was good. and I just don't see Arachnomancer being anywhere near on that power level. So, nice card, nice flavour. I think in Limited you'll always pretty much play it because it'll allow you to burn through your deck.
It's okay. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a massive Limited fan. It's still a bad body.
Yeah, it's still bad for its stats, isn't it? It's like when Wild's making 5/6s and Diamonds are making 4/4, which pins things down. This feels a little bit poor. Next up, we have Arcane Focus. I know you're a fan of this card.
This card is amazing.
Yeah.
Card selection is something you don't really have a lot of in Hex.
No, you don't really. I mean, I suppose the card that it's going to have to be compared to, obviously, is Peak. But I think that this is a Peak which is obviously better in the early game, and it also...
You can play it in non-heavy Sapphire decks.
Yeah,
as well.
you can play it in a splash deck.
And it costs 1.
Exactly. It is a basic...
If they made this card instant, it'd have to be a rare.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be ridiculous at instant, to tell you the truth. The one thing that I look at is... what would make it quite fun, or at least a card they might think of, is look at the top 2, put one in your hand and one on the top of your deck, rather than in your deck. So you could actually play around with Angel of Dawn and do things like that. Or look at the top card, you may draw it, or something like that.
I think it should put the card on the bottom.
Rather than just in.
Yeah.
Maybe. Now, I mean, the thing is, there's very few ways currently to actually shuffle your deck, so I think that putting stuff on the bottom is pretty much like worse than putting it in your bin.
The weird thing is, it shouldn't alter your deck order. So if you play like an Indigo Dreamweaver or any of the Prophecy cards, like you should still draw the Prophecy card.
Oh yeah. It just puts it into your deck. So unless it puts it on top of the Prophecy card, then yeah, you'll.
This is assuming you don't see the Prophecy card off it, obviously.
Yeah, it's like your deck stays in the same configuration. It's just that this goes in at a random point. Which is interesting because it's not actually a shuffle, but it's near as makes no difference because you can't tell where it is in your deck.
Which is something they couldn't do in a live game.
Yeah, it's like the whole Schrodinger's thing. Next up, Arcane Zephyr. Target crew gains flight and spell shield this turn.
It's fine. There's a trick in Limited, obviously.
Like, I think the flight bit's almost irrelevant, but the spell shield bit can be quite useful because it's just protect my guy from your 1 removal spell. Which, you know, in Limited especially, removal spells are really at premium. So I could see it potentially being like either a sideboard or a 40th card in your deck.
Well, considering all the removal spells cost like more than 3 now,
Yeah.
it's a really good mana investment.
I think so.
I say more than 3, obviously there's Pride's Fall, but that's conditional.
There's Rockcast as well, so...
Okay, so I just lied. So all the clunky removal costs more than 2.
Yeah. I like the 5 mana kill a creature. How about no? Next up, Augur of Sirion. 4/5 with flight for 6. You can see the top card of your deck and you can play the top card of your deck.
This card's very powerful in Limited. It's definitely a first pick.
Yeah, I mean, he's amazing in Limited. Constructed...
I think he's okay, but I think you want to drop him when you've got about 10 shards.
Yeah.
Or when he's free.
Yeah, he's one of those things, he's like a mega endgame win condition.
Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to test him out yet
Because he doesn't work.
Yeah, he doesn't work, and yeah.
The thing I would potentially the thing I would say about this is if you're waiting that long to win, you probably have already won with a Sapphire deck.
Because if you untap with him in play, you've probably that seems like a really good win condition. But the thing is, I'd rather play Windsinger. I think he's more powerful.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think he probably goes into the same deck Windsinger does, and I think that Windsinger's just better. If you could put him into play when you have a Windsinger in play, I find it very difficult to see how you're going to lose. But it's, you know, it really is. If you've got Windsinger in play and you've started a turn with him in play, I don't think you're losing anyway. So, yeah, I can see it for sure. It's a very powerful effect for sure. But that initial 6 mana investment on something which, at the end of the day, is a guy that doesn't protect itself. You know, we don't see Zedusi in play for very good reasons. Like, occasionally he sees the little bit of play, but he doesn't see that much.
Well, this guy doesn't actually have to hit them.
That's very true. But Zedu can draw a lot more cards than this guy. You know, it's like Zedu really only has to hit once, and you've got a full grip. So yeah, cool card, but I think that the way constructed is certainly at the moment, and the way it's more than likely going to be when set 3 comes out, I don't see this guy making a huge splash in constructed. Really good effect though.
Well, we'll try him out and we'll get back
We'll
to you.
definitely try him out, yeah. Unless he's like 2,000 platinum, then you guys can try him out.
We'll get back to us, yeah.
Next up is Brood Baron, 3/6 for 5. At the start of your turn, create a copy of each egg in target opposing champion's deck and put them into their deck.
It says if you're winning spiders, you've just won the game.
Yeah. It's
Basically,
like in
that's what it says in limited.
Yeah, in limited, this guy's just utterly busted, and you take him first pick every single time. Because, yeah, the thing is, because it's exponential, it gets, you know, it just gets to a point where the game is no longer winnable after like 3 or 4 turns. The other fact is, because he's got 6 on the ass, he is really hard to kill. I mean, even when we've played constructed with this guy, it's surprisingly difficult to kill this guy if you're not in blood.
Yep.
And the fact that if he just all he needs to do is sit there. He doesn't need to attack. He doesn't need to do anything. Now,
it's a little vulnerable to bounce.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that the same argument could be used for Ogre of Sirion. That, you know, all he needs to do really is sit in play. But Brood Baron is cheaper, and I feel he's a bit more synergistic with the decks that he's obviously going to go in. I don't think he's going to see too much play in Constructed, because I don't think the Venom deck is very good. I
think he's going to be a one-off.
Yeah, it might be a one-off. In Limited, you're just going to slam this guy. This guy.
It's very, very funny with Fento.
Yeah, I mean, you fill your opponent's deck with like 20 Terrarantulas and say, good luck winning. Next up, Cerulean High Counselor. Put a troop with cost equal to or less than this troop's cost from your hand into play. Put this into your hand. It gets +1. This seems like a very convoluted way to try and get round counter magic, and I believe we've already.
It's a pile of crap.
One, and, yeah, it's just not a very good card, I don't think. If you're that desperate to get around counter magic, just play blood and take the counter magics out.
I suppose he does eventually get inspired by everything in the world. But
yeah. But
there's better things
you're
to
going
be
through.
doing.
You're doing a lot of work for it to do that. Next up is. Ooh, he came back. Next up is Cripple. Target troop gets -4 attack.
Very, very convincing follow-up though.
Yeah. Yeah. Target troop.
I think it's okay as like a 40th card in Limited.
I'm not even sure on that, to tell you the truth. So you're gonna get. This is gonna be, especially at 3 as well. It's like this is gonna be a card you're gonna totally regret having in your hand if your opponent has anything that has an ability while it's in play.
Yeah, but it does essentially kill most things up to 4.
I mean,
I say kill, it nullifies them, right?
Yeah, it nullifies them. Yeah, but I mean, your opponent, your opponent does anything that involves spiders. This is irrelevant. Because every spider pretty much has an ability that just requires it to be in play. So, you might remove it from being an effective combat force, but it doesn't remove it from the board, and I think that's a big deal.
Maybe it's a sideboard card. Maybe
against like a wild deck.
At a big push.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you can do like some cute interaction where they go, I will bring this in and fight your guy, and I actually shrink your guy. But, I think it's mediocre at best, and I wouldn't be very happy picking this up. Next up is Cyclone Shaman. 2/4 with Flight for 4 with Prophecy. When this enters play, the next troop in your deck gets when this enters play, put target action with cost equal to or less than the troop's cost from your graveyard into your deck.
I want this to be really good, but it's 1 power away from being good, I think.
Yeah, for Constructed, certainly. I think in Limited, it's fine. I mean, Skyle Griffin was fine in set 1 Limited, and the 2/4.
It's a guy with a potential upside, right?
Yeah, it's a fine body, a 2/4 flyer for 4, which is fine, and it's got a potential upside, so that immediately makes it pretty good. The artwork's a bit weird on this one. It looks like sort of 1980s cartoon.
I really like it, actually.
Yeah.
Limited, I think he's very good, and Constructed, he's just a bit on the not punchy
he's not
side.
good enough for Constructed.
You might see playing some kind of combo deck.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Next up, Devoted Infuser. 3 mana, 3/2. At the start of each opposing champion's turn, ready this, and you can shift that ability.
I don't see it being very good.
Doing limited. I think this guy's really nice in limited.
It's the 2 on the ass. It's like
Well, I
it's
mean,
the double sapphire and 2 on the backside. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, he has 2 on the ass, but I mean, you probably shift it to something that has 4 or 5 on the ass, right? I mean, 3/2 for 3 isn't going to set any, isn't going to set any records.
he's not as good as the diamond guys.
Well, no, but that's going to be pretty much correct for any of the sapphire creatures, aren't they? They're almost never as good as their diamond counterparts. Diamond pretty much has the monopoly on like ridiculously efficient small creatures. But I think this guy's okay. You'll probably pick him up. You are right. I mean, the thing is, Necrotic want to be 5 colours, and yet this guy has 2 sapphire threshold. So I don't really know if he fits in any sort of strategy you want to fit him in. So you kind of have to hope that his value is good. But you get like the Coyote. We had 2/4 flyer, and it basically just gives it steadfast, doesn't it? So, or you have a guy like the guy who taps to deal 1 damage. And you're just like, well, he untaps all the time, so I can double shoot things. Or you just get super lucky and get Fentio, and you just like double activate him. So I think there's definitely things that this.
I think there's definitely
do.
synergies that can make him very good.
Yeah. So, as it is with a lot of drafts in Hex, look out for the synergies. If you can get something which is super synergistic, you might want to try and do that over just taking the powerful card. It's kind of one of these things when, when like Hearthstone Arena advice websites were around and they were like just scoring cards based on like. It's like, well, that didn't take into account synergies. Now, apparently there are sites which do take into account synergies now, but a lot of the time, something that's synergistic is worth more than something that's just flat out powerful. And you kind of see that in set 2 where humans is just ridiculous. But that's because they're synergistic and powerful, so it's like a pretty bad combo. Next up is Entangling Webs. 2 mana quick action as an additional cost to play this. Exhaust a ready troop you control. Exhaust up to 2 target troops they can't ready during their controller's next ready step. That seems a big tempo swing.
I think this card has a lot of not kind of deck enabling, but solves a lot of problems for certain decks versus aggro.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's massively to write home about, but I think certain decks need this effect. It's fine in limited.
In limited, it's fine. I mean, the tap, exhaust a creature and it doesn't untap has always been a playable, playable thing in limited.
If there's any kind of ridiculously fast, wide aggro strategy, or even just like a couple of I mean, the thing I saw is that we're going to preview a card a bit. There's a 1-cost Coyote that gives a card drawer. An action drawer card, and I was talking to Boomer about having a sideboard package of 4 of him and 4 of these in like a spell-based combo deck we were talking about. That you can basically utilize that guy as your dude to tap for this.
Yeah, and you slow your opponent down to a ridiculous.
And you're basically time walking your opponent.
Yeah.
Sorry, mastery of timing your opponent.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think this guy's fine for limited, constructed, potential sideboard implications.
It's either going to be absolutely amazing in constructed or laughably bad.
Yeah, it's like if you're trying to... If you're playing a deck where all you need to do is get to like turn 4 or 5 and then you're going to win, then this is obviously like really good if you have a guy in play.
I mean, the mono sapphire decks at the minute, I'd play this out of the board. I think a couple of these out of the board.
Potentially, yeah, because
especially in the matches where you're bringing in Ancestors Chosen.
Yeah, just make Ancestors Chosen. Then it's like, so that beatdown plan you had, that isn't really happening. It's probably better than. I actually think at that point, in terms of handling creatures, it's better than Time Ripple, but Time Ripple is the sort of universal answer thing.
This doesn't answer Soul Marble. Well, annoy Soul Marble.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't answer Soul Marble. I mean, to be fair, if your opponent's good, it shouldn't answer Soul Marble anyway. But Time Ripple shouldn't answer Soul Marble anyway. But I mean, it might take over. I don't know if it'll take over from Buccaneer because Buccaneer's so much of a
I
tempo
think you want to play
swing.
this and Buccaneer. That's what I'd do.
Very possible, very possible. Sorry, just turning my fan off because there might be some background noise on it. Next up is Epiphany. 4 mana, quick action, target champion draws 2 cards.
It doesn't affect the board, which kind of sucks. However, in a deck with 4 of each counter spell in, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a card for control decks, isn't it?
I'm also playing it in my Windsinger deck on the PTR at the minute as another 2 copies of something to do in their turn.
Yeah. It's a quick Oracle Song with 1 more. Oracle Song hasn't seen too much playing constructed. I think there's better things to do. Epiphany might change that.
I think there's probably some kind of flash deck.
By flash, we basically mean quick deck.
Sorry.
There's some form of quick deck, I think, probably, where basically the only card that you play the only things you do in your turn are Tunnel Reese and cast Windsinger.
And maybe Mastery of Time, but
yeah, maybe not even that. You're not even sure on that front. We're not even sure on that front. But there's probably enough you can do at quick speed to make a deck. It's just whether it's powerful enough. I mean, I can certainly say if you do nothing on your turn but can still make threats, that makes counter magics even better. The problem is you have to wonder if it'll get shredded by some sort of like uber aggro deck. The key to beating the flash decks or the quick decks in any form has always been put them under pressure. So at the moment, there's no deck that really puts like huge amounts of pressure on early. So I think a flash deck could basically fit really well into the current environment. But if there does appear to be some sort of like really aggressive Ruby Diamond beatdown deck or something like that, then you might have to think again on that sort of strategy.
And for those of you who's wondering about all these decks we're talking about in the PTR, what we'll probably do is like a quick, like the 5 new decks we think might be good preview thing. Yeah. Just a quick video at some point soon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the test server's back down now, so we'll just have to like talk through them. Next up, we have Frigid Buffalo. We're just going to put Buffalo in every single deck. It's a 2/3 for 3, the same as Rotting Buffalo. It's just in Sapphire.
It's filler.
It's a 40th card,
yeah. Yeah.
Next up, Harbinger of Hasta. I think we've already discussed this one.
I think the card design is just amazingly nice and clever, but I think it's also amazingly crap.
Yeah, it's just not playable, is it? It's just not playable in
until they put a draw 3, put 2 back effect in the game. It's not good enough.
You're probably going to play this in. You're probably going to play it in limited just because it's huge. And
he is a fatty McFatty,
and it wins the game when it attacks. But constructed, I don't see it. I really don't. Next up, Incubation Webs. Exhaust target opponent troops it gets at the start of turn, exhaust it and create a spiderling egg and put it into your deck.
See, we have difference in opinions on this one, don't we?
Not really now, not since I've had it played against me. I didn't realise it was at the start of every turn, so it's a proper spider filling job. Also, it's basically Mesmerize on steroids because Mesmerize requires the creature to be exhausted in the first place. This just goes, I'm Mesmerize and you will stay mesmerized.
I like it. I think it's fine.
I think in limited it's amazing. It's basically
might see display in the bad spider deck he constructed, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I think the spider, as you said, the spider deck is bad. So I'm not. You can see it taking out your opponent's big fat guy, but at the end of the day, your opponent's big fat guy is more than likely going to be Zakia, which doesn't need to attack, Reese, which doesn't need to attack, Tianos does need to attack, so it takes that out. What's his name? Windseeker, which doesn't need to attack. So all of these things that it removes in constructing, most of them don't need to attack. And if you're casting it on something like a living totem, it's like, well,
I think you can see some sideboard play.
Yeah. It could see some, but I'm not 100% convinced.
Oh, by the way, with this spider deck, guys, feel free to prove us wrong.
Yeah, feel free to prove us wrong, but I think that as far as the spider tribal deck goes, it's not happening. There might be some of the spider cards which make their way into control decks, but most of the spider cards are just bad versions of cards that already exist that just have put a spider in your opponent's deck added onto them. So like, when you think of Arachnomancer, the 5-mana 3/3 that draws a card, think of Archmage Renlock and how much play that doesn't see in Constructed these days. 5 mana is a lot more than 4, and that guy isn't as good as Archmage Renlock. So I just don't see him seeing play. It's like Renlock sees play very occasionally in certain decks, and it's like that guy's just worse. Next up's Indigo Dreamwalker. We've spoken about this card. We like this card. 3/4 with flight for 4. When this enters play, the next card in your deck with cost 1 or greater can be played for free.
I am trying this in every single deck I can. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on the test server.
It doesn't work on the PTR, so we don't know. But I think we've had a couple of situations where this card would have been utterly backbreaking.
The thing is, spoilers for one of my favourite decks. I'm taking to try it out like a Wild Sapphire mid-rangey fighty deck, and this guy into Agothian Rootfather for free, giving him +8/+8. And shooting your opponent for 8 is a lot of damage.
Yeah. What else?
Or flying, whatever it is I've got in it.
What else did you socket in the Rootfather in Wild Side? Did you just give him flight?
I think I just give him flight, yeah.
Yeah, so like 8/8.
Or I might have given him Spell Shield, I'm not sure.
It's like 8/8 with flight or 8/8 with Spell Shield.
And he's really good in that deck as well, because obviously you get to untap stuff and do stuff in there.
I think Rootfather's one of those cards which saw, some people started playing it a lot, and then it sort of faded away when Wild faded away in Constructed. But I think that if Wild becomes a thing again, I think Rootfather's like an auto-include. So powerful for 7 mana, and it's almost never cast for 7 mana either.
Well, yeah, stuff like having Time Waves in your deck and like you could learn Mass Polymorph.
Polymorph Dingler. Yeah.
Any of the dragons.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you hit anything that costs more than 4, it's utterly insane.
I mean, sure, if you just hit a counter magic as well,
yeah.
You've got like a 0 mana counter magic. Anyway, yeah, it's like making stuff cost 0 is ridiculous. So I think that this guy is going to see a home somewhere. He can certainly see a play just for value. I mean, a 3/4 flyer for 4 is fine. He blocks Vampire King at worst. So he's, for me, again, really nice stats for the cost, and he has a potential backbreaking upside. So
I think he's the best
prophecy card. I think it's
prophecy card by a mile.
I think it's between this guy and one that's going to come up a little bit later.
I think this guy's probably the most powerful potential card in the set.
Yeah.
Bar one,
yeah. Next up is Lightning Brave, 3/2 quick flight.
This guy's fine.
This guy's absolutely fine.
Good in limited. Very good in limited.
Yeah, very good in limited. I mean, let's face it, Phoenix Guardian Forces, a 3/2 flight for 4, and that sees plenty of play in limited, and this guy's better because he's quick. So I actually was considering playing this guy in the Wild Sapphire quick deck.
Yeah, I think he's fine in that as well.
He's just an evasive guy that you play. It doesn't matter that he costs 4 because you're not playing it during your opponent's turn. So I think that it's fine. Next up, Lunacy. It's a bad Chronic Madness.
But it is another Chronic Madness for those.
It is another Chronic Madness. So there is, are they trying to push Mill hard? Possibly. You got 4 of this and 4.
I think they're trying to push Spiders hard.
They are for sure. But again, I played against a guy who had 3 of these on the test server. It's like, grats on your 3 Spiders, I still kill you.
I got 4 in a draft deck, and I just milled the crap out of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cards, I think, where if you go for it in limited and you get like 5 or 6 of these, you're probably just going to win that draft.
It's good in multiples in a draft deck.
But if you only pick up 1 or 2, it's I can't see it being very good. And
yeah, constructed, whatever.
Constructed, if a mill deck's good, it'll be in it. If a mill deck's not good, it won't be, and I don't see a mill deck being good at the moment. Next up is Marrow Mage. I think we've been through this one before. I think he's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't think I can see myself playing him in Constructed, but...
You mean you don't want to put this on Windsinger?
No, if I was going to put anything, I'd do what I said. I'd put it on Eldritch Dreamer and make it, like, Super Eldritch Dreamer.
Or you'd cast him for naught off your Dreamweaver and shift it onto your Dreamweaver and just start drawing cards.
Yeah, maybe. I still probably won't play him.
No,
He's a bit of a 1/3.
And again, same slight problem with Necrotic. Necrotic wants to be 5 colours, and yet it's double Sapphire. I think it has to be double Sapphire though, otherwise he's ridiculously splashable, and it's so easy to like abuse this guy. You could always put him on your Colossal Walker just for giggles. Nazuk Webguard, 1/4. When a Spiders enters play under your control, you can exhaust a troop. I actually think this guy's pretty good for Spiders in Limited.
Yeah, and in Constructed, as Heavy said, this is bad.
Yeah, 1/4 for 2, don't get the job done. Next up, Oculus of Azeroth, 4/4 for 6 with Flight. When this is ready, it has Spell Shield.
I am so all over this card in Limited. It is absolutely amazing. I have won so many games with it already.
It's Cloud Titan that they can't touch, right?
Yeah, it's also, I really like it in like the Spider Mill decks because if you get that touch, thingy card, it's actually something with power, and you finish the game with this guy.
Yeah, I mean he's your big fit. You know, we talked about the 6 mana 4/5, I believe, in the Blood video. This guy's similar role. He's your finisher.
And he's got balls.
He's got balls.
A big eyeball.
Big eyeball. Huge eyeball. This deck, this like set has some proper Nightmare Fuel Nightmare Fuel art, doesn't it? It's like.
It's very Call of Cthulhu art like this set, I think.
Well, I mean, it's chaos touched, isn't it? So, you know, the whole idea of that stuff like Eldritch Dreamer, that's coming straight from Lovecraftian stuff. So, you know, anything with chaos touch is going to have the sort of Call of Cthulhu thing behind it. Another guy who can potentially sue them. Next up, Psionic Acolyte. 2/5 for 5. With exhaust, bury cards from the target champion's deck equal to this troop's power, and you can shift the ability.
This guy's okay, but he's rubbish unless you shift the ability, because 2 isn't enough.
Yeah, 2 isn't enough. But the thing is, if you put this on something with like 4 power, wouldn't you rather be attacking with that 4 power?
Depends, you might want to trigger your spiders.
Why would you want to trigger your spiders when you could kill your opponent? I mean, I suppose it's super good in a stall situation. It's like which is, to be fair, is what the spider deck wants to cause, is a big stall. So
I had 2 or 3 in both of my spider decks that did well.
Yeah. So, you know, I can certainly see it in a deck where you just put a load of fat asses on the ground and then just mill them out. But, you know, Constructed, I don't think it's happening. Limited, if you have the deck for it, I think it'll be okay. But on its own, it's not very. Exciting. Next up is Psychic Torment with yet more like Nightmare Fuel-inducing artwork. Whenever an opposing champion is dealt damage, bury a card from the top of their deck for each damage dealt.
This card is powerful and limited.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Touch of Zen. It's Touch of Zentoth, isn't it? The blood one. This is Touch of Zentoth for every creature that you control.
Well, no, Touch of Zentoth puts Spider in the deck.
Well, yeah, but balls to that, you want to mill. Yeah. I think, no, you are right, that puts Spiders. This is... I think this is fine for the fact that you're actually doing damage to your opponent.
The thing is, imagine you get 2 of these in play.
Yeah, true.
You're just done.
Yeah, your opponent's just done, isn't it? It is uncommon, so you're unlikely to get 2. But I think that you can make stuff happen with this.
I really like it as a card.
But then again, it's milling a card for each damage dealt. Don't you kill your opponent before you mill them? If that happens.
I don't know.
I think you kill your opponent before you mill them. Yeah. It's one of those cards where you look at it and initially go, wow, that's good. And then you go, well, actually, maybe not. And it's probably a way that you accelerate your spiders. You know,
yeah, I think if you get this, then you're well on the way to having a ridiculous spider deck.
Yeah, it's basically spiders only, isn't it? It's not a mill. It's not a mill card. It's a get spiders card. So again, limited, probably all-star in the spiders deck. But then again, you are skipping your 2-drop to make it. So depends how fast the limited format is. Because if you're on the draw, you make this turn 2 and your Wild Ruby opponent makes a 5-drop on turn 3, you're like so far behind at that point. So it might be a case where there may be a case. I think you probably don't play. I think it's just you don't play this turn 2. It's like
You just play on like turn 5 when you have a board and just go in.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's going to be a mistake you're going to see quite a few people make. Actually, is you just they drop this turn 2 and give up like way too much tempo, especially if they're on the draw. Next up is replica reinforcements.
Yep, this isn't a card.
It's a bad version of Mimic, isn't it? And it's rare, just to make
it's not real.
Worse. One of the things that I was thinking about, I mean, going back to the Psychic Torment again, we kind of have been, you know, we've been on a lot in this video about synergy, and again, this is why we're not fans of arbitrary scores. This is a high pick card in a Spiders deck, and in anything else, you ignore it. And it'll also be a bit of a skill test on your opponent. If you see your opponent playing this and not playing a Spiders deck, you know that you're probably going to be doing okay. Next up is one of your favourite cards, Lead Reprocessor.
I think this makes it so the artifact deck can still be alive. There is so much potential with this card.
Yep. You may transform another target artifact or troop you control into a warbot. So it's basically a construction foreman for every permanent you have in play as long as it stays in play.
So what you do is you construct foreman your crappy 1-drop into a 3/3, and then turn your crappy construction foreman into a 3/3.
And then you turn your Hex Geode into a 3/3.
And then at the end of the day, if you have to, you turn this guy in. Oh, it's another, isn't it?
Another, yeah, you can't turn it into a 3/3. But
basically, as long as you can make warbots, you're making 3/3s with this guy.
Yeah, as long as you can make any sort of chunky guy, he's a 3/3. Like just Bertram will make you make a 1/1, and at the start of your turn, it turns into a warbot. So he is rare, so you're not going to see too much of it in limited. But I think he's
a constructed all-star. This guy, very, very good in that deck.
Yeah, I think he's a kill on sight in that deck. The only issue is the double sapphire thing because Dwarves does have fairly shonky mana on.
But I think you can go to 4 Hex Geodes with this guy.
Yeah, true. I think you can. It's just what you take out for it. Next up is Runeweb Infiltrator. This is the guy that all Spider decks pretty much have to play.
Yeah, he's fine.
Constructed, again, not seeing it. He's a 1/1 for 2, 1/1 flyer for 2. They generally have to be busted to see playing constructed. Even Thunderbird doesn't see playing constructed these days. And so, yeah, limited, you're going to pick him up for your Spider deck. Constructed, no, not seeing it at all. It's just way too weak compared to what he's actually seeing playing constructed these days. Next up, Sacred Seekers, 3/4 for 5. Coyote Allegiance, when it enters play, draw a card.
I think he's a good 40th card, maybe a 38th.
Yeah, he's a late card for Coyote. I mean, he's a body which draws a card.
He's never competing against anything good. You'll pick him up really late in the draft, so you know.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Again, I like the fact that it's a quote-unquote 1/8/7 creature. I do like the fact that in this set they seem to have bought a lot more creatures which have come into play abilities, which should hopefully stem the tide of Buccaneer and Time Ripple.
Maybe that's why they stopped doing Times Offering.
Possibly. Because they probably felt it was a bit busted with what was happening. I can certainly see, I'm actually hoping for more creatures like that because Buccaneer and Time Ripple, until recently, they were just dominating the meta game, and alongside Reese, obviously, but I really do think that they were nuts. Next up is Scrap Rummager, 3 mana 1/2 with Exhaust. Target champion draws a card, then discards a card.
Very good in limited.
Yeah, I mean, loot cards have always been good in limited.
A little bit steep costing, but
3 mana for a 1/2 is probably fine. You'd obviously prefer 2 mana for a 1/1, but
he ain't blocking.
Yeah.
So
he is a dwarf as well, so he fits in that deck.
Yeah.
You can also target your opponent with this as well.
Make him draw spiders.
Yeah. Next up, Slaughter Gears Innovation. 5 mana basic action, Socketable Major. Transform target artifact you control or in your hand into a War Hulk with all socketed powers of this.
I think it's okay.
I mean,
in limited.
War Hulk costs 5 anyway, so giving it a Socketable Major ability is pretty hot.
If you do it to something in your hand, you've got all the come into play effects that you can have in there.
that you
I
can
mean, just
have.
having a flying Warhol seems fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, 5/5 flight's fine to me. Um, what else can you give it? Well, pretty much you can give it like rhinos, but you know, in the decks you're going to be playing, you're going to be giving it draw a card, flight, punch something if it's in your hand, or intimidate usually.
Or speed.
Yeah, if it's in, I think if it's in your hand, you just give it punch your opponent in the face rather than speed. So yeah, I can see it being a limited decent card. For constructed, no.
I think I'd first pick it limited.
Yeah, probably if you were going into that area. Dwarves aren't quite. There's not that many like superpowered dwarves in this deck, in this set, so I'm not too sure on that front. Okay, next up is Smirking Trickster. It's a 2/1 for 2, quick, and when it enters play, look at target champion's hand. I mean,
I think he's fine because he can just come in and kill something.
yeah, I mean he's quick. He's quick as well, which is cool. You know, I mean,
He probably sees playing this deck we keep going on about that we're not sure if it's a deck or not yet.
Well,
but
I mean, you play Brown Fox Scout over it, don't you?
I think you probably play 2 of this guy as well.
Yeah, just so you can have a 2-drop on turn 2. I just want someone to attack with their Mirror Knight into my open 2 mana. Gotcha! Next up, Spider Nest. 2 mana. Target opposing troop gets, when this becomes exhausted, create 3 spiderling eggs and put them into your deck. I don't like giving my opponent the choice, and I don't think the effect...
The thing is, with how people are playing at the minute in Limited, although I think people learn not to give a crap, this is basically a removal spell.
Yeah, because they're not. They don't attack because they fear putting 3 spiders in their deck when they're drawing 1 card a turn in their 40-card deck. Yeah. It's like it takes like 4 spider injections for it to become a significant chance of you drawing it.
And then it's only a 1/1.
And then it's only a 1/1, and you still don't skip your turn to. You still get to draw another card. It's only when your opponent has ridiculous stuff like the Brood Baron that you have to start getting really worried about the spiders. Obviously, this can combo with the every turn the creature becomes exhausted, and then you just start putting like millions of spiders in your opponent's deck. But that's a 2-card combo, and your opponent can always sacrifice their own guy. And it's like, and then you've just got, well, okay. And there are plenty of ways to sacrifice your own.
The thing is, if you stick this on a relatively large guy,
yeah,
they go, okay, sit back with it. How are you attacking me again?
Yeah. It's like, or they just go, that's nice, thanks for spending a card, and smack you in the face with their big guy. It's like, thanks for spending 2 mana and a card to not do anything.
Swing shot, this card's rubbish.
Next up, Suffocate. Interrupt target opposing card, create 2 spiderling eggs and put them into their deck. It is a very bad counter magic. So it's not going to see playing constructed. Limited, potentially. I'm not a fan still. 4 mana counter magic.
I think it can be sideboarded against certain decks.
Possibly, but it's like 4 mana counter magics usually have to be so good in order to actually be good.
Or you need... That's the only answer you've managed to draft.
Yeah, it's like or your opponent has like an Augur or a Windspeaker or something like that, and you have to counter it. It's like that's the other option. So you might occasionally see it pick as like 39th, 40th card. Constructed, I'm not seeing it. It's just a bad counter magic, and a very bad counter magic at that. Next up is Syzygy. We've already been through this. Lee wants to break this card. It doesn't work currently, does it?
No, it doesn't work currently. I did try and break it.
It's like all the cards we want to test don't work yet.
Literally all of them.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, we can announce on this video, because it came out yesterday, Army of Hex will be released on the 14th of July.
I don't think they have that much stuff they need to sort. I mean, these are just, why is this card not working?
Except for every card we actually want to test. I was like, I'll build this combo deck. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, right, I'll build a blood deck with Vampire Princess. Oh wait, that doesn't work either. So it's like properly everything I want to test doesn't work. Next up is Throwback. Target troop gets -1 attack, put it into its controller's hand. I think it's fine for limited. Constructed, Time Ripple's just better.
I think occasionally this is better than Time Ripple.
In constructed?
Yep. If you're guaranteed you're going to be bouncing dudes, and the small cheap dudes, then I don't think you care about the +1.
The thing is, I think Time Ripple's just there for the fact that it can take out a Solitary Exile or it can take
Yeah, I'm
out
just
Soul
saying,
Armor.
if you don't care about that, then this is probably better. I think it will maybe see like a play occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose but again, the against aggro decks, the +1 really matters. It's like the +1 cost really matters.
I'd rather neuter his guy completely.
Depends how neutered he is. I mean, if he's a 3/2, he's still fine at 2/2, right? Especially if they back it up with another 1-drop.
Like I said, it has to be if specific decks are in the
Yeah.
meta kind of thing.
Next up, I think this is the one that we might have been talking about. It's Thunderfield. Yeah, it's Thunderfield Elder. 3 mana for a 3/2. When this enters play, the next action in your deck gets copy it when you play it.
Yeah, this guy's fine.
This feels scary.
I've not broken it yet because I wasn't allowed to put cards in the deck that worked. But I think he's potentially ridiculous.
Yeah, he's very scary. And again, body's fine.
Mastery of Time.
Yeah, it's like potentially he's fine. You know, it's like the body's fine on him, and the ability is potentially backbreaking again.
I don't think you're playing him in limited.
Depends what actions you've got. Because if you've only got like 2 or 3 actions, it digs down to all of them. So,
Yeah, but then you've got to eventually draw it, right?
I mean, 3/2 for 3 is fine as far as the body
I guess,
goes.
yeah.
You know, and it is only a single sapphire as well. So it's not like he's like a 1/3 for 3. At which point, yeah, you probably wouldn't play him in constructed. He's in limited. He's a decent body as well. So I think you play him, especially if you've got like the +1/+1 guy and he comes down as like a 4/3. You know, it's like looking at all the synergies that Coyote have. It's like this guy could end up coming down as like a 4/3 flyer with this ability. You know, it just makes your deck, all the Coyote just make your deck exponentially better. Next up is Thunderfield Enchanter, 6 mana, 4/5. When this enters play, the next troop in your deck gets Spell Shield.
Oh, this is bad.
Yeah, his stats ain't great for 6. Spell Shield is an annoying ability though. But it's more than likely going to go on like your 1/1 for 1 that you draw the next. It's like, I think he's a bit uncontrollable, and it's not great. Constructed, no. 6 mana is a lot, as we've discussed on multiple occasions. Thunderfield Seal, 1/1. When this enters play, the next action in your deck gets draw a card.
I think this guy is fine in like any deck that's come. This is the guy I was talking about with Entangling Webs type thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think he serves a purpose in a high action deck.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him play. I can see like this guy and the, I can see this guy and the Elder basically being the only creatures you play in like a pure action deck.
Yeah, I really want to do it with like I want to play red blue with like Schemes and Syzygy and
Yeah, I mean,
Cerebral Fulmination and Ragefire and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have also seen the Crasher Beast Temporal Mastery deck that I took through the arena. I think that this guy and the Copier guy could go in there potentially as well. I think Archmage is just better in that deck, I think.
I think you play Archmage as well, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is with this, I think you play this and then you play Arcane Prowess and you're like, ooh, happy days.
Yep. It's like, look at the top 2, draw a card, then draw a card. Not bad. Next up is Tireless Researcher, 4 mana for a 2/3. When it readies, draw a card.
He's fine. He's good filler.
Yeah, he's basically filler, isn't he? It'd be good if you can find a way to exhaust him without attacking.
Like Entangling Webs.
True, I'm not sure you cast it on your own guy.
No, I mean, you exhaust him to cast it, right?
Yeah, true. There must be a way to do it. I think there is a way somewhere. There will be a way somewhere. But...
Well, he's very good with plans, isn't he?
Yeah,
but
he's awesome with plans, but there aren't any plans in this, I don't think. Next up is Wakuna Crowfeather, 2/4 for 4. When this enters play, the next troop in your deck gets +2/+2 and flight. If it's a Coyote, it gains the prophecy power.
This guy is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you first pick this. And then you just pick up as many Coyotes as you can and go, this is fun. Constructed.
Thing is, I think it's fine in a deck without Coyotes.
Yeah, I mean, the next creature you get becomes monstrous and flies. I mean, he's obviously underpowered for the cost that he has. but in terms of his stats. But I think that for what he gives you, essentially a 4/6 flight for 4, it's pretty nuts. And it could be any creature that gets this. Like literally any creature gets that ability, and it's undercosted. Well, any creature that you would realistically be playing.
Well, let's put it this way: it's a 1-drop, 1/1 coyote. It's a 3/3 flyer for 1.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This guy's basically a 4/6.
4/6 flight for 4. Yeah. Next up is Windborn Disciple, 2/2 with flight for 3, and you can shift your flight on something else.
Absolutely fine in limited.
It's fine. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. 2/2 flyers for 3 have been staples in pretty much any game which uses the mechanic for ages, and the fact that you can shift your flight onto something which might be a little bit more of a fatty boom boom is perfectly fine. And Windspeaker.
There you go. That's how you exhaust the door.
I like this guy.
I think he's fine.
Yeah. 1 mana, 1/1. If you control Wild, you can ready a troop by exhausting it. If you control Diamond, you can exhaust a troop. And these guys, I think he's really good. Like for limited, I think this guy's really good. Well, obviously, if you're in Diamond Sapphire or Wild Sapphire, which you are going to be if you're in Coyotes. So I think this guy's fine. He makes like any combat situation or any stall situation so much easier for you. If your opponent's got like the 1 bomb, you can just lock it down, and you can always just have a fat guy ready to unexhaust as well. So yeah, I like this guy a lot. Constructed, don't see it, but limited, definitely. And finally we got, wow, you screwy wabbit. It's Wolsey Wabbit. With Lee disappearing.
No, this card confuses me. From the artwork down, I'm confused.
It gets plus attack plus power for each equal to target troop's attack and power, and it transforms into a copy of another troop as well. This is just weird. The thing is, when it transforms, it keeps its buffs. Like, if it's buffed itself, it keeps its buff when it transforms. So, if your opponent has, like, a 3/3 guy, you can buff it up to 4/4 by using its thing, and then transform it into the 3/3, and it will become a 7/7. Sorry,
over the course of 2 turns.
It will be a 6/6 over the course of 2 turns, yeah. So it is.
I don't see it.
I can see it. Like, you probably will play it in limited just for the hell of it, because it can potentially just be absolutely enormous. But again, it really depends on how like aggressive and tempo-y the format is. And if it is an aggressive format, this guy just feels very slow. But then again, it turns into a decent power and toughness guy the turn after it comes down. So,
I suppose.
But then again,
I can't evaluate this card.
But then again, you have to skip your 4-drop if you're doing that. So, and it's basic to use its ability as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the flavour of it's really cool. But I think the actual power of it, no, probably not.
I hope it's got a really, really good equipment that does crazy stuff.
Yeah, just so you can PvE it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's it for all the Sapphire cards, guys. And overall, mixed bag. We're still not of the opinion.
It's definitely not as limited-wise as Diamond.
Yeah, we're still not convinced on the Venom at all, but we like the Coyotes, or at least most of them.
I am a fan of Wily Coyotes, indeed.
Yeah. And we will leave you for this video with, unfortunately, what has just become a memory. See you next time, guys.
Bye.